Welcome back, dear dreamer. Tonight we continue our voyage through the solar system, drifting to the planet after Mercury. It's often called Earth's twin, yet beneath its glow hides a world of fire, storms, and endless mystery. Why does it shine so brightly in our night sky? And why did ancient civilizations revere it as both the morning star and the evening star? As you listen, let each story unfold like a gentle whisper of science and wonder. Lay back, close your eyes if you wish, and let your thoughts float into the golden clouds of this strange, haunting planet. This is Venus, beautiful, mysterious, and unlike anywhere else. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe for more calming journeys through space, and tap the like button if you enjoy drifting into these cosmic stories. Now, let's begin. Here's a stargazer's secret. Venus is the brightest natural object in our night sky after the moon. It shines with a brilliance that often outshines even the brightest stars. This glow comes from sunlight bouncing off its thick clouds, which act like mirrors reflecting light toward us. Long ago, people thought Venus was two different stars, one appearing in the morning and another at dusk. But in truth, it's the same planet, shimmering with steady brightness, as though it were a lantern in the twilight sky. When I see Venus, I like to imagine it whispering ancient secrets from across the solar system. On paper, Venus looks like our twin, and that's not an exaggeration. It's nearly the same size as our planet, with only a slight difference in diameter. But while they may look like siblings from afar, the truth is more dramatic. Earth is alive with oceans, breezes, and forests, while Venus is wrapped in thick clouds and searing heat. It's like looking at a mirror that reflects not what we are, but what we could have been if conditions had gone differently. This twinship feels both comforting and haunting, like a reminder of how fragile our own balance is. Here's a cosmic twist. Venus rotates in the opposite direction to most planets. On Earth, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. But on Venus, it's reversed. The sun would rise in the west and set in the east. This slow, backward spin is called retrograde rotation. What's even stranger is that one day on Venus lasts longer than its year. Imagine a world where time stretches, where sunsets linger for months, and where the flow of day and night feels like a dream that never quite ends. Venus reminds me that the universe loves to bend the rules we think are unbreakable. Hotter than Mercury? Against all instinct, yes, Venus takes the crown. This happens because Venus has an atmosphere so thick with carbon dioxide that heat cannot escape. It's a runaway greenhouse effect, trapping warmth like a blanket wrapped too tightly. The ground temperature can reach nearly 475 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. I sometimes imagine standing there, feeling the weight of a sky pressing down, the heat wrapping around like fire, though no human could survive it. It's a reminder of how delicate and precious our own balance of air and climate truly is. Look closer at that pearly glow, and you'll find a harsh truth. The clouds are laced with sulfuric acid. These clouds are thick, choking, and completely opaque, hiding the surface from our eyes. If you looked up from Venus's ground, you would never see the stars, never even see the sun directly. The sky would be a yellowish-orange haze, heavy and suffocating. And yet, those very clouds are what make Venus shine so brilliantly from afar. It's a strange irony. That beauty we admire in the night sky comes from layers of acid that would destroy us if we stood beneath them. Now picture this: air that crushes like the deep sea. The atmosphere on Venus is so dense that standing there would feel like being a kilometer deep in Earth's ocean. The pressure is 90 times heavier than what we feel here. If you could place yourself there, your body would be squeezed, as though wrapped in invisible chains of pressure. Even the strongest spacecraft have only survived a short time before being crushed. It is a place where the air itself becomes an overwhelming weight, and silence would feel unbearably heavy. Yet, from space, that very same atmosphere creates a graceful glow that enchants our eyes. Beneath the golden haze, the terrain turns epic: mountains, valleys, and monster volcanoes. One of its great volcanoes, Mat Mons, rises taller than Mount Everest. But unlike our volcanoes, many on Venus may still be active, though we can't always see the eruptions directly through the clouds. Scientists believe lava may still flow there, painting the surface with fresh scars. I like to picture rivers of molten rock glowing beneath the suffocating sky, hidden from our view, yet shaping the world in silence. Venus feels alive in its own mysterious, fiery way. Roll the clock back and the planet may surprise you. Venus might once have had oceans. Billions of years ago, it might have been cooler, with seas rippling across its surface. But as the sun grew brighter and heat built up, water evaporated and drifted away into space. The planet dried, and the greenhouse effect took over, transforming it into the furnace we see today. It's almost like Venus lived a second life, one of flowing waters, before becoming what it is now. Sometimes I wonder what creatures could have existed if those oceans had lasted longer. Here's a missing shield you'll notice right away. Venus lacks a global magnetic field. Our planet's shield protects us from harmful solar winds, but Venus is left almost bare. Without this shield, charged particles from the sun strip away parts of its atmosphere, blowing them into space. It's as if the planet is slowly breathing out, losing pieces of itself with every passing moment. And yet, Venus endures, its dense atmosphere clinging stubbornly despite this constant erosion. I find it haunting to think of a world exposed to the sun's raw breath, yet still shining so brightly to us. Across cultures and ages, one bright wanderer kept returning to our myths and music: Venus. The ancient Greeks linked it to Aphrodite, goddess of love, while the Romans named it Venus. The Mayans tracked its cycles carefully, treating it as a powerful celestial sign. Even today, its dazzling glow inspires poetry and wonder, as if the planet itself is a muse for dreamers. There's something deeply human about gazing up at Venus, feeling its light as both science and story. It's not just a planet, it's a timeless companion of our imagination, watching us from the twilight sky. Strangely, Venus chooses its scars. Fewer craters than the Moon or Mercury dot its face. That's because its thick atmosphere burns up many smaller objects before they ever reach the ground. Only the biggest meteors survive the fiery descent, leaving scars across its surface. This makes Venus's craters large but rare, as though the planet chooses carefully which marks to keep. I like to imagine each crater as a silent memory, a soft whisper of a visitor from space, recorded in stone beneath the clouds. Venus hides most of its story, but these craters remain as gentle reminders of cosmic encounters. If time feels slippery anywhere, it's here. A Venusian day outlasts its year. This means the planet rotates so slowly that one sunrise and sunset take longer than an entire trip around the sun. Imagine living where dawn lasts for months and twilight stretches endlessly, painting the sky in golden haze. Time would feel dreamy, unhurried, as though the world itself were drifting in a slow dance. On Venus, the rhythm of days is not a ticking clock, but a lingering lullaby, wrapping the planet in an eternal slowness. Hear the nickname whispered by astronomers, Earth's evil twin. The label comes from its sharp contrasts with us, similar in size and mass, but utterly hostile. Where we have oceans and air, Venus has acid clouds and unbearable heat. It feels like a mirror universe version of Earth, familiar yet frighteningly different. This contrast makes me reflect on how lucky we are to live on a planet that supports life. Venus reminds us that even a small shift in nature's balance can change paradise into a place of fire and storm. High above the furnace, the sky becomes a racetrack. Winds outrun our worst hurricanes. In the upper clouds, winds whip around the planet at over 350 kilometers per hour. Yet below those clouds, near the surface, the air barely moves, thick and heavy. It's like two different worlds stacked together, a silent furnace below and a raging storm above. I picture those winds rushing endlessly, circling the planet like a restless spirit, while the ground beneath lies still and suffocated. Venus shows us that even calmness can hide chaos swirling just above. Try to pour a glass of water here, and you'll meet an impossible rule. Liquid can't last. If you poured water there, it would instantly boil away, even though the planet is not boiling in the same sense we know. The crushing pressure and intense heat destroy the balance needed for water to stay. It's a place where the simple comfort of a droplet is impossible. And yet, in its past, Venus may have known flowing rivers, perhaps even seas. When I think about this, I feel as though Venus is a ghost of oceans long gone, a world haunted by the memory of water. To unmask the planet, we had to change the kind of light we used. Enter radar. Because its thick clouds block visible light, ordinary telescopes show us only a featureless glow. But radar waves can pierce through the haze, bouncing off the land below and returning maps of hidden terrain. Through radar eyes, mountains, valleys, and plains emerged, revealing the secret face of Venus. It was as though a veil had been lifted, letting us glimpse a world that had hidden itself for ages. Each map, drawn by radar, feels like uncovering a dream long concealed behind curtains of mist. Follow the lava, and you'll read the landscape. Most of Venus is written in fire. Its volcanoes and flows cover nearly 80% of the surface, one of the most volcanically shaped worlds we know. Many of these volcanoes are broad shields, spreading wide and low like vast hills of molten stone. Some scientists believe Venus might still have active eruptions, though hidden by clouds. I like to imagine glowing lava rivers flowing quietly under the suffocating sky, unseen but alive. It gives Venus a restless heart, as if the planet itself is still breathing fire in the darkness. Look for a companion in its night sky, and you'll find none. Venus travels alone. Unlike Earth, which has its comforting moon, Venus circles the sun without a satellite. This loneliness makes the planet feel both haunting and beautiful. Some theories suggest it may have once had a moon, lost long ago to cosmic events. When I think of Venus without a moon, I picture a solitary traveler, glowing brightly, yet wandering quietly through the night. Try taking a breath here, and the air itself tells the story, almost pure carbon dioxide. This heavy mixture creates the crushing greenhouse effect, trapping heat and keeping the planet endlessly hot. On Earth, carbon dioxide is measured in tiny percentages, but on Venus, it dominates the air. If we tried to breathe there, it would feel like inhaling fire, thick and toxic. Yet, in that same suffocating atmosphere lies the reason we see Venus so brightly, glowing like a jewel in our sky. It's a reminder of how the same element can nurture life here, but create danger there. With a spin so lazy it borders on stillness, Venus lingers under the sun for months. Half the planet bakes under endless daylight, while the other half waits in an extended twilight. But thanks to its thick atmosphere, heat spreads around evenly, leaving no cool side to rest in. It is a world without relief, where night feels as hot as day. I imagine standing on that dim side, expecting coolness, but instead, feeling the same suffocating heat pressing down. Venus teaches us that time, light, and heat can all behave differently in strange and dreamlike ways. If brightness were measured in mirrors, Venus would win. Its clouds bounce back about 70% of the sunlight. This reflectivity, called albedo, is why Venus glows so brilliantly in our skies. Its thick cloud tops are like giant mirrors, bouncing light back into space. When I think of Venus, I imagine it as a lantern in the cosmos, glowing not with its own flame, but with borrowed light. It's almost poetic, shining so brightly to us, while its surface below is shrouded in darkness and heat. Venus reminds me that beauty is often layered, with light on the outside and mystery within. Search the blue sky on a clear afternoon, and you may spot something rare: Venus in daylight. If you know just where to look, you'll see a small white dot glowing quietly beside the sun. This rare sight has startled people for centuries, as though a second sun had appeared. I like to think of it as Venus reminding us it's always nearby, even when we're not expecting it. Its presence in the daylight sky feels like a hidden secret, waiting to be noticed by those who pause to look up. Venus doesn't need darkness to shine. It glows whenever it wishes. Before dawn or after dusk, Venus plays a double role: the morning star and the evening star. When it rises before dawn, it outshines everything else in the east. When it lingers after sunset, it glows brightly in the west, following the sun. To ancient people, these two appearances seemed like two different objects, and only later did they realize both were the same planet. I imagine the surprise of discovering that the brilliant star of dawn and the jewel of dusk were one. Venus is like a faithful companion of the sun, greeting it at sunrise and bidding it farewell at sunset. For spacecraft, Venus is more than a destination. It's a helping hand. Its gravity can give spacecraft a slingshot effect, helping them pick up speed to travel deeper into the solar system. It's like a cosmic hand, pushing explorers onward. Even though Venus itself is harsh and unfriendly, it plays an important role in guiding missions to Mars, Jupiter, and beyond. I find it soothing to think of Venus not only as a destination, but also as a helper in the grand journey of exploration. It's a planet that gives momentum, even while keeping its own secrets hidden. Geologists will tell you Venus once hit the reset button. About 500 million years ago, the planet may have experienced a dramatic resurfacing event. Lava poured across much of the land, erasing old craters and features, creating a fresh face. It's as if the planet smoothed out its history in one sweeping act. This resurfacing leaves us with questions. What caused it? And could it happen again? I like to imagine the entire world glowing with rivers of fire, reshaping itself in silence under its cloudy sky. Even when hidden, Venus glows faintly. Scientists call it air glow. Atoms and molecules in its upper atmosphere release energy after absorbing sunlight, creating a soft, ghostly radiance. It's invisible to our eyes, but detectable with instruments. I picture it as a secret aura, like the planet is quietly breathing light. Even when it seems hidden in shadow, Venus still finds a way to shine. There's something comforting in the thought that darkness never fully silences its glow. No planet spins as slowly as Venus. While Mercury and Jupiter whirl rapidly, Venus turns with the patience of centuries. Its rotation is so sluggish that it feels almost still, like a statue drifting in space. And yet, this slow movement gives it a rhythm unlike any other planet. It's as though Venus is teaching us that not everything needs to move quickly to be powerful or bright. Sometimes, slowness itself is its own kind of strength. If you look at maps of Venus, you'll notice something unusual. The mountains carry women's names. Unlike other planets, where names are often drawn from male gods, Venus follows a different tradition. Features on its surface are named after famous women, honoring queens, goddesses, and heroines across cultures. For example, Maxwell Montez is the only exception, but most peaks bear feminine names. I find it beautiful that this planet, long associated with the goddess of love, carries the names of women carved into its lands. It feels like Venus is a cosmic tribute to strength and beauty combined. Step outside on a very dark night, far from city lights, and Venus might surprise you. It can cast shadows. Its glow is so intense that you may see your outline faintly painted by its light. Few stars or planets are bright enough to do this. I imagine standing under a velvet sky, with no moon above, and realizing that Venus alone is painting shadows on the ground. It feels magical, as though the planet is reaching out from millions of kilometers away just to touch us. Even from afar, Venus leaves its mark in the quiet of night. The story of interplanetary exploration begins here, with Venus. In 1961, the Soviet Union launched Venera 1, the first attempt to reach another planet. Though it lost contact before arrival, it marked the beginning of our exploration beyond Earth. Later missions, like Venera 7, became the first to land successfully and send data back from the surface of another world. Venus holds this honor, being the first planet where we touched ground beyond Earth. To me, this makes Venus a gateway in our journey to the stars, the first place we dared to step into the unknown. Look at its shape, and you'll notice a rare perfection. Venus is almost a perfect sphere. Unlike Earth, which bulges slightly at the equator because of its faster spin, Venus's slow rotation keeps it nearly spherical. It's a smooth, balanced world, without the stretched shape most planets carry. I like to imagine Venus as a glowing pearl, polished and round, drifting through the black sea of space. Its stillness gives it a sense of calm, as if it holds its shape in quiet dignity. There's something soothing about the thought of a planet so perfectly balanced in form. Think of the solar system as a family, and Venus holds the second seat from the Sun. It sits between Mercury, the swift messenger, and Earth, our blue home. Its place makes it both close enough to shine with warmth, yet far enough to carry a different fate. Sometimes I think of Venus as a bridge, halfway between the Sun's burning heart and our living Earth. From its orbit, it glows with a brightness that marks its place like a jewel in the solar family. Its position feels just right for mystery, neither too near nor too far. The name itself carries a story. Venus, goddess of love and beauty. No other planet in our solar system bears the name of a woman. To the ancients, its dazzling glow symbolized charm, desire, and grace. I imagine poets looking up, feeling inspired by that radiant light, weaving myths of passion and devotion. It's almost as though Venus has always carried a message, not just of science, but of human longing and imagination. The planet itself is harsh, yet its name forever ties it to beauty and love. If you could stand on Venus, you might see something bizarre: pancake-shaped volcanoes. These broad, flat structures are called pancake domes, formed by thick lava that oozes slowly before hardening. They spread across the land like giant stone cakes, sometimes dozens of kilometers wide. I like to picture them as strange landscapes, silent and massive, sitting beneath the golden sky. No smoke, no fire, just frozen flows, marking the planet with patterns we cannot find here. Venus shapes its world with artistry that feels both alien and elegant. Long before compasses, sailors once relied on Venus to find their way. Because of its brightness and regular cycles, ancient navigators used it as a reference in the night sky. I imagine those sailors watching the morning star rise, knowing it was their companion on dark waters. Even though the planet itself is unreachable, it gave direction to human journeys here on Earth. Venus has always been more than a planet. It has been a guide, glowing faithfully for those who wandered. Climb high enough on Venus's peaks, and you'll find something strange: metallic frost. Radar scans reveal bright material that scientists believe could be lead sulfide or bismuth compounds. This shiny layer sparkles differently than the rocky plains below. I like to imagine golden mountains capped with gleaming metallic frost, glowing faintly in the dim light. It's not snow as we know it, cold and soft, but rather a heavy, glittering coat of minerals. Even in its harshness, Venus finds ways to decorate itself with beauty. One reason Venus lacks protection from the sun lies deep inside. It spins too slowly to generate a strong magnetic field. On Earth, our spinning iron core creates a shield against cosmic radiation. But Venus's sluggish motion means it lacks this protective bubble. As a result, the solar wind washes over it, stripping particles away. It's like standing without an umbrella in a storm, yet somehow still enduring. Venus's survival without a magnetic shield makes it both vulnerable and resilient, a silent witness to the sun's constant breath. Sending messages from Venus isn't easy. The atmosphere itself bends radio waves. When spacecraft send signals back to Earth, the thick, hot layers distort and weaken them. It's as though the planet muffles voices, keeping its secrets. Many missions have ended in silence, their final words lost in the haze. I like to think of Venus as a keeper of whispers, listening, but not always letting us hear back. It's a world that speaks in faint echoes, challenging us to listen more carefully. Look at the surface through radar and you'll see great circles. Venus's coronae. These crown-like structures are formed by rising plumes of hot material from deep inside. They stretch for hundreds of kilometers, sculpted by forces we can only imagine. Each corona looks like an enormous scar, or perhaps a flower pressed into stone. Scientists still debate how exactly they formed, but they stand as monuments to the planet's restless interior. When I picture them, I see Venus wearing a crown of fire, carved into its very crust. Art and science often meet under Venus's glow. From ancient hymns to modern symphonies, its light has touched human imagination. Gustav Holst even dedicated a movement of his famous suite, The Planets, to Venus, calling it the bringer of peace. I like to think that while the planet itself is fierce and fiery, its light has always stirred something gentle in us. It's strange and beautiful, how a hostile world can still inspire feelings of calm, love, and creativity here on Earth. Venus is not only science, but also song. If you thought Mercury was hottest, think again. Venus wins. Its thick carbon dioxide atmosphere traps heat so efficiently that it becomes a runaway greenhouse. Mercury, with no air to hold warmth, cools at night. But Venus never lets go of its heat. It's as if the planet wrapped itself in a heavy blanket it cannot remove. The result is a surface hotter than any kitchen oven, glowing with relentless fire. Venus proves that distance from the sun is not everything. Sometimes it's the air itself that decides a planet's fate. Picture a layered sky, and you'll understand Venus's clouds. From about 50 to 70 kilometers high, they swirl endlessly, made of sulfuric acid droplets. Each layer hides the one beneath, creating a ceiling without stars or sunlight. If you stood below, you would live in eternal haze, with no glimpse of the heavens above. It feels almost claustrophobic, like living beneath a ceiling that never lifts. Venus wears its clouds like armor, both beautiful and impenetrable. Scan the planet with radar, and vast plains reveal themselves, oceans of stone instead of water. These lowlands stretch for thousands of kilometers, broken only by scattered volcanoes and mountains. They are silent deserts of rock, flattened by ancient lava flows. I like to picture walking across one of these plains, endless, glowing with heat, the horizon blurred by haze. It would feel like wandering through a dreamscape, with no wind, no water, and no sound but your own breath. Venus's plains are oceans of stone, frozen in time. Follow the canyons, and you'll find them deeper than our Grand Canyon. One of the largest, Diana Chasma, stretches for thousands of kilometers across its surface. Its cliffs and valleys tell the story of forces beneath the crust, pulling and shaping the land. I imagine standing on its edge, looking down into a vast, glowing rift, hidden beneath thick skies. Though no human eyes have ever seen it directly, the canyon waits there, silent and eternal. Venus holds landscapes both familiar and alien, carved by powers we still struggle to understand. Here's a curious rhythm. Venus's upper atmosphere races faster than the ground itself. Scientists call this superrotation. While the surface takes 243 Earth days to rotate once, the winds above circle the planet in just 4. It's as if the sky lives its own life, independent of the ground. I like to imagine standing on Venus's surface, watching invisible winds rush overhead, carrying secrets from one side of the world to the other. Venus teaches us that even within a single planet, time and speed can flow in different ways. In size, Venus comes remarkably close to Earth, just a little smaller. Its diameter is about 12,100 kilometers, only a few hundred less than our own. If you held the two planets side by side, they would look like twins, nearly identical in size. This closeness once led scientists to hope Venus might be Earth-like, with forests and oceans. But instead, its surface revealed fire, acid, and crushing pressure. It's a haunting lesson that two worlds so alike in size can be so different in soul. Peer at radar maps, and you'll see patterns like fabric. These are tesserae, strange regions of crisscrossing ridges and valleys, unlike anything on Earth. Scientists believe they formed from intense pressures, folding and breaking the crust in many directions. I like to think of them as scars of struggle, where the planet's surface fought against itself. From space, they look almost like works of art, abstract designs carved into stone. Venus is not just a planet, it is a canvas painted by forces beyond our imagination. Unlike smaller rocky worlds that cooled long ago, Venus still holds its heat. Its thick atmosphere and volcanic past trap warmth deep inside, slowing the planet's cooling. This may explain why volcanoes there could still be active today. I picture the planet glowing faintly from within, like embers buried beneath ash, waiting for the chance to flare again. Even in silence, Venus carries the warmth of ancient fire. What kind of storms live in acid skies? On Venus, lightning crackles in the clouds. Though hidden from our eyes, spacecraft have detected bursts of electricity flashing through the thick haze. These sparks crackle silently, unseen but powerful. I like to imagine the golden sky lit briefly by flashes, like whispers of a storm. It feels strange to think of thunder without sound, a storm we can only sense through instruments. Venus reminds us that even silence can hide great energy. Step back in time, and you might find Venus habitable. Models suggest it could have supported liquid oceans for hundreds of millions of years before the runaway greenhouse took over. If so, it may have had a gentler climate, with breezes, rains, and flowing rivers. Perhaps simple life could have begun there, though we may never know for certain. I like to imagine an ancient Venus, blue and green, glowing under a softer sun. Now it is a desert of fire, but perhaps it remembers the time when it too was alive. Even sunlight moves differently here. On Venus, the clouds are so thick that light takes hours to filter through. On Earth, daylight reaches the ground in an instant, but here, every ray is delayed and scattered, painting the world in dim gold. If you stood there, shadows would look soft and blurry, as though wrapped in haze. It's like living under a veil, where even sunshine feels heavy and dreamlike. Venus shows us how light itself can be transformed. Watch the horizon and prepare for a reversal. The sun rises in the west on Venus. Because the planet spins backward compared to most, astronomers call it retrograde rotation. This is why its sun would rise where ours sets. It feels almost like the planet is defying the usual order, dancing to its own rhythm. I imagine watching a sunset that feels wrong to our instincts, stretching endlessly across a sky of orange. Venus is a reminder that not all worlds follow the same rules of motion. Sound itself changes here. On Venus, the dense carbon dioxide atmosphere makes voices deeper and slower. If you spoke there, your words would rumble with a muffled, heavy tone. It would be like hearing yourself through a thick wall. Even the simplest sound would feel alien, reshaped by the air around you. On Venus, even a whisper becomes something unfamiliar, a reminder that sound belongs to its environment. Think of the toughest spacecraft we've built. None last long on Venus. The longest survivor, Venera 13, endured just over 2 hours before the heat and pressure silenced it. During that time, it sent back haunting images of a rocky, barren land beneath the yellow sky. Those pictures remain our only real glimpse of Venus's surface. I often think of that little probe, working bravely in silence before melting away. It's a story of endurance, of touching another world, if only for a moment. In a way, Venus is a climate laboratory. Its runaway greenhouse effect shows what happens when carbon dioxide takes over an atmosphere. By studying it, scientists learn what could happen if Earth's balance ever tips too far. Venus warns us of warming gone wild. I find it powerful that a distant world can teach us lessons about our own. It's as though Venus whispers to us, reminding us to care for the delicate air we breathe. One thing Venus lacks is plate tectonics. On Earth, shifting plates recycle rock and shape continents. But Venus's surface seems fixed, with heat building beneath until it bursts out in massive eruptions. Without plates to release it gradually, the planet reshapes itself in sudden, violent ways. I imagine its crust like a sealed lid on a pot, holding pressure until it cannot anymore. Venus is a world of pauses and sudden outbursts, silent until it decides to change everything at once. Here's a puzzle. A Venusian year is shorter than its day. It takes 243 Earth days to rotate once, but only 225 to orbit the Sun. Imagine celebrating a birthday before finishing a single day. Time there feels twisted, as though the clock hands spin differently than ours. On Venus, even the rhythm of days and years follows a dreamlike logic. High in the clouds, winds carve shapes across the sky. Some form a giant Y-shaped cloud stretching across the globe. These patterns drift and reform, circling the planet endlessly in just 4 days. I like to think of it as Venus's signature, a moving symbol that belongs only to this world. It's as though the planet writes its name across the heavens with winds. History remembers Venus as the first planet we truly reached. In 1962, NASA's Mariner 2 flew past, collecting data that revealed its searing heat and thick atmosphere. That moment marked the dawn of interplanetary exploration. I imagine the excitement of scientists, hearing signals from a world we had never touched before. Venus holds a special place in history as the first neighbor we dared to approach. And if you stood on Venus, you would never see stars. Its thick cloud cover keeps the sky sealed shut. Unlike Earth, where even the darkest nights sparkle, Venus's heavens remain hidden. It would feel like living inside a sealed room with no glimpse of the cosmos. I find this both lonely and mysterious, a planet cut off from the universe around it. And yet, from outside, Venus shines as one of our brightest companions, glowing outward even while inward it lives in shadow. Before we knew its truth, Venus once fooled astronomers into dreaming of life. Shrouded in clouds, it was imagined as a jungle world with swamps, strange plants, and perhaps even creatures. The reality, of course, turned out to be a furnace of acid and stone. I like to think of this as a story of hope before knowledge. Venus reminds us that imagination often runs ahead of discovery, and both are important. Among all the stars in the sky, Venus still outshines them. Even Sirius, the brightest star we see, cannot compete with its glow. On a clear night, it looks almost like a lantern hanging low on the horizon. It's so bright that some people mistake it for a UFO or airplane, but it is simply a planet glowing steadily, reminding us of our cosmic neighbors. Venus is proof that sometimes the simplest light can outshine everything around it. Here's a strange contrast. While Venus's surface hardly moves, its winds race. This creates a planet of 2 layers, one silent and still, the other wild and restless. It's like standing on frozen ground while storms roar above your head. If you stood there, you might feel the world unmoving beneath your feet, while chaos circled in the clouds. Venus is both stillness and storm in a single breath. Circle after circle, Venus moves with perfect grace. Its orbit is the most circular in the solar system. While Earth and Mars wander in slightly stretched paths, Venus glides in a nearly flawless loop. It keeps almost the same distance from the Sun at all times. I find that comforting, imagining Venus gliding through space like a dancer tracing a perfect circle. Some paths do not wander. They remain steady, round, and balanced. If you compare their weight, Venus and Earth are almost equals. Venus carries about 82% of Earth's mass, close enough to be called a twin. And yet, despite this closeness, their destinies unfolded in opposite ways. Earth became blue and alive, while Venus became golden and fiery. I like to think of them as siblings who grew apart, each telling a different story of possibility. Similarity does not always mean sameness. The dance Venus makes across our skies repeats every 584 days. This cycle, called its synodic period, determines when it returns as morning star or evening star. Ancient people tracked this rhythm carefully, using it to mark seasons and time. Its steady beat made it one of the most important celestial clocks in history. I find it beautiful that even without telescopes, people trusted Venus to keep time for them. Look at the surface, and you'll find long, winding valleys carved by fire, not water. These lava channels stretch for hundreds of kilometers, some longer than Earth's rivers. Once, they glowed red, fiery veins spreading across the planet. Now they lie frozen in stone, silent scars of molten history. Venus tells its story not with rivers of rain, but with rivers of fire. Notice the tilt of the planet, and you'll see why Venus has no seasons. Earth leans about 23 degrees, giving us spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Venus tilts less than 3 degrees, barely at all. This means its climate is the same everywhere, always. It's a world without variation, endless heat with no relief. I find it haunting to think of a planet where the rhythm of seasons never comes. For scientists, Venus is more than a world. It's a what-if version of Earth. Studying why Venus became unlivable helps us understand why Earth remains so welcoming. It's a cautionary tale, a mirror held up to us by nature. I like to think of Venus as a teacher, showing us what might happen if balance is lost. It doesn't just shine, it warns. Every so often, Venus steps in front of the sun, appearing as a tiny black dot crossing its face. This event, called a transit of Venus, is rare. The last ones happened in 2004 and 2012. The next won't return until 2117. During such transits, astronomers once used the timing to measure the size of the solar system. It's a gentle reminder that even small dots can hold great meaning in the cosmos. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Venus did more than inspire. It united. Astronomers worldwide observed its transits to calculate the distance to the sun. It was one of the first great acts of global scientific cooperation. I like to imagine those scientists, scattered across the world yet staring at the same event, linked by a tiny shadow moving across the sun. Venus has not only sparked wonder, but also teamwork. Many cultures gave Venus a softer name, the morning star of hope. Rising before dawn, it was seen as a sign that light was returning. Its glow promised that sunlight was close at hand. I find that image comforting. A planet that whispers encouragement before the sun itself rises. Venus feels like a messenger, carrying light into the darkest part of night. Even today, Venus keeps mysteries tucked into its clouds. Scientists once detected traces of phosphine gas there, a chemical on Earth linked to life. The discovery sparked excitement, though debates later questioned it. Still, the idea of unusual chemistry high in the haze lingers. I like to imagine strange processes happening far above the fiery ground, hidden in the mist. Venus reminds us that even now, not all answers are certain. Unlike Earth, Venus never cools at night. Its greenhouse blanket traps heat everywhere. Day and night feel almost the same, both sweltering and relentless. It's as if the planet itself refuses to rest, holding heat endlessly. I find it haunting that a world can glow so fiercely even when turned away from the sun. Venus shows us just how powerful an atmosphere can be. Hidden beneath those golden clouds rise mountains taller than almost any on Earth. Maxwell Montes towers nearly 11 kilometers above the surface. That's higher than Everest, though no human eyes have seen it directly. It waits beneath the haze, glowing faintly in radar scans. I like to imagine a golden mountain hidden in a secret world. Venus holds landscapes so grand, they remain forever unseen. Without a magnetic shield, Venus cannot resist the sun's winds. Charged particles strip away parts of its atmosphere, slowly bleeding it into space. Over billions of years, this may have taken much of its water. I think of it as a world breathing out, losing pieces of itself to the void. And yet, despite this, its air remains thick and heavy, clinging with determination. Venus seems both fragile and stubborn, refusing to disappear. Because Venus spins so slowly, its body doesn't bulge. Earth, spinning faster, stretches slightly outward at the equator. Venus, in contrast, stays nearly perfect in form. It's like a calm stone, balanced and unhurried, drifting through space. I find that image soothing, a planet not rushed, not stretched, but steady. Venus carries stillness even in its shape. Look across its surface and you'll see plains of hardened lava. These volcanic fields spread far and wide, covering most of the planet. Once, they glowed with molten fire, oceans of lava instead of water. Now they are quiet, frozen in stone, but still echoing with memory. I imagine walking across them, sensing the silent heat beneath. Venus wears its volcanic past like a cloak, wrapped across its whole surface. At the tops of its clouds, winds complete a lap around the globe every 4 days. These racing currents create enormous waves and swirling features seen from space. They move far faster than the ground below, almost as if the atmosphere has broken free. I imagine standing beneath, watching the clouds rush while the surface stays heavy and still. Venus carries 2 rhythms, slow and fast, woven together in strange harmony. Stretching across its crust is one of the longest valleys in the solar system, Baltus Vallis. Nearly 7,000 kilometers long, it outdoes the Nile on Earth. But here, the flow was lava, not water. I picture it glowing red long ago, a fiery ribbon burning across the surface. Now it lies silent, a scar of molten history beneath golden clouds. Venus's valleys tell stories not of rivers, but of fire. Look up at the sky of Venus and you'll never see stars. It's always covered. Unlike Earth, where skies clear and reveal the heavens, Venus keeps its clouds sealed shut. No starlight, no moon, no sun, only a golden haze overhead. It would feel like living in a world turned inward, cut off from the universe. I imagine standing there, knowing the cosmos exists above, yet never being able to glimpse it. Venus glows for us, but hides the universe from itself. Long before spacecraft revealed its harsh truth, astronomers once dreamed Venus was alive. They pictured steaming swamps, lush jungles, and strange creatures beneath its clouds. The thick atmosphere invited fantasies of a second Earth. Reality, of course, turned out to be fiery and unforgiving. I like to think of this as humanity's hopeful story, imagination leading before discovery caught up. Venus shows us that dreams often come first. Among the brightest lights in our sky, Venus ranks just after the sun and moon. Its glow is steady, never twinkling like stars, a beacon across history. People have mistaken it for lanterns, omens, even UFOs. For thousands of years, it shaped calendars and guided stories. I like to think of Venus as a cosmic lighthouse, glowing night after night for human eyes. Ask any scientist and they'll say, Venus is the most inhospitable planet we know. Crushing pressure, searing heat, acid clouds. It defeats every attempt at survival. No human, no spacecraft, no simple life can last long on its surface. And yet, it draws us closer, daring us to study and dream. Something magnetic lingers about a place so unwelcoming, yet so beautiful. Venus is both warning and wonder. In studying Venus, we also glimpse Earth's beginnings. Its twin ship suggests they may have started alike before diverging. By asking why Venus became unlivable, we learn why Earth remained alive. It is like reading an alternate history of our own planet, one written with fire instead of water. Venus is a mirror, showing us what might have been. Even in naming, Venus stands apart. It is the only planet named after a goddess. While the others carry names of male gods, Venus holds the feminine title of beauty and love. Her glow inspired myths of passion and longing. I like to think the ancients saw something softer, something radiant in its light. Even today, when we call it Venus, we carry that poetry forward. Peer at its clouds with ultraviolet eyes, and strange patterns appear. Dark streaks sweep across the atmosphere, absorbing sunlight. Scientists don't yet know what causes them, perhaps unknown chemicals or mysterious processes. It's as though the sky paints invisible brushstrokes, revealed only in special light. Venus still keeps secrets in the air it wears. Stretching across the land are rift valleys so vast they rival continents. These scars run for thousands of kilometers, carved by forces deep below. Once, they may have glowed with molten fire before cooling into stone. Even now, they remain like wrinkles in the planet's skin. Venus shows its struggles openly, etched into its surface. Watch Venus near the horizon, and it sometimes plays tricks on the eye. Its light bends through Earth's air, making it shimmer or appear larger. This has fueled myths of wandering stars or omens in the sky. But the truth is simple refraction, light gently bending on its way to us. Still, I like to imagine Venus teasing us with illusions, steady yet playful. Few planets have welcomed as many visitors. Venus has been explored by more spacecraft than almost any other, except Mars. From the Soviet Veneris to NASA's Magellan, probes have touched, mapped, and revealed its secrets. Most survived only briefly before succumbing to the heat. I like to think of each mission as a brave traveler, leaving behind a story before fading away. Venus tests every machine, yet still gives us knowledge. Stand on its surface, and the pressure would feel like being buried beneath an ocean. 90 times Earth's atmosphere pushes down, the weight equal to standing nearly a kilometer underwater. Even metals bend and machines collapse under that invisible hand. I find it haunting that a sky can weigh more than seas. Venus reminds us that not all burdens can be seen. Time itself stretches here. On Venus, a single sunrise takes months. The horizon brightens slowly, painting the sky gold for weeks. And when the sun finally sets, twilight lingers endlessly. It would feel like living in eternal dawn or dusk. I imagine the air glowing gently, never rushing, as though time itself had softened. Venus shows us the beauty of patience. Hidden under its clouds rise giants, volcanoes larger than Earth has ever seen. Mons towers above, immense and silent under the haze. Some scientists believe it may still erupt, releasing fire beneath the sky. I like to picture its slopes glowing faintly, unseen but alive. Venus's mountains are not only stone, they may still breathe. Once, Venus may have known the touch of water. Billions of years ago, its surface may have been cool enough for shallow seas. Rivers may have flowed, raindrops may have fallen, before heat took them away. Over time, oceans boiled into memory. I find it poignant to imagine Venus once blue, now golden, carrying a ghost of water in its silence. Measure its density, and Venus matches Earth almost exactly. Both are made of rock and metal, with heavy cores within. Yet such small differences created such opposite worlds. It's as if two recipes with the same ingredients produced entirely different dishes. Venus and Earth remind us that similarity can give birth to diversity. Step outside just after sunset, and Venus may greet you before the stars. It shines like a lantern in the fading blue, the first to appear. For a moment, it seems alone in the sky. I like to think of it as a companion for travelers walking home at dusk. Venus is often the first star we see, and the last to leave. Look at radar maps of its ground, and you'll notice something odd. The surface looks smooth. Wide plains stretch without many craters, as though the planet erased its scars. Scientists believe massive volcanic flows resurfaced it not long ago. I imagine the land glowing with lava before cooling into stillness. Venus gave itself a new face, hiding its ancient history. Stories of Venus fill human history. For the Aztecs, it was tied to gods of renewal. For the Greeks, it was Aphrodite. For countless poets, it symbolized longing and love. I find it beautiful that one glowing point in the sky could carry so many meanings. Venus is not just science, it is story. Even today, Venus calls us back. New missions are planned to study its surface, clouds, and mysteries. We still long to know why it became what it is, and what lessons it holds for us. Even now, Venus shines every evening and morning, a faithful light above Earth. I like to think of it as both warning and gift. And so, dear dreamer, we come to the end of our journey. 100 gentle facts about Venus. We've drifted through acid skies and rivers of fire, walked across golden mountains, and stood beneath a ceiling of clouds that never parts. We've seen Venus as a teacher, a mirror, a guide, and a timeless light. As you close your eyes now, let the image of that glowing planet linger softly in your mind. Let it shine like a lantern in the night sky, calm and steady, carrying you into rest. Thank you for joining me on this gentle voyage. Sleep well, and may your dreams be as bright and mysterious as Venus itself.